Okay, so we've talked about there's a dog barking outside. We've talked about the past progressive tense where something is going on, and we've talked about the simple past. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Now it starts to get a little bit more complicated. We're going to talk about present perfect, okay? I'm going to try to draw it out so you can get a picture of why we would use this, and then we'll, of course, look at some examples. This is a bit tough because of when we use it, and it's also a little bit tough because how you make it is more than just changing one word, usually. The present perfect focuses on something that we say now about the past as well. It includes the past and the present. The first one that we use is to express something that we do now or is still going on now, but which began before. And we're sort of combining the fact that it began before and has continued up to the present moment. So all the way up until now. To do that, we use have or has, and then we use what's called the past participle. The past participle is a special verb, okay? It's a special verb because it's sometimes different than the simple past. For example, you know go and you know went, right? Went is the simple past, but gone is the past participle. Gone is the past participle. So have gone would be the correct way to use it, okay? Have gone. And there are lots of different past participles. The difficult thing is that sometimes they're different from the simple past and sometimes they're the same. For example, we talked about the word walked before. Have walked is also the past participle, W-A-L-K-E-D. I walked, I have walked. It's the same. But for this one, go, went, and gone, it's different. And you just have to get a feeling for it, or if you really want to get serious, you can look up a long list of verbs and study what the past participles are. I would recommend just reading and watching movies and talking to people to get a feeling for which ones they are. And I think you probably know many of them. Now you would have also seen another form where you have, has, right? I have, she has, it has, they have. Then you have the past participle been, B-E-E-N. Yes, yes, been. It's got to be been, okay? Be, was, or were, and the past participle is been. I have been, she has been, it has been, they have been. And then a verb, put a verb like this, plus ing. Okay, for example, she, have or has been living, ing, living. She has been eating, she has been going, she has been talking, whatever. She's been talking for 45 minutes. When will she finish? That means she's still talking now. He's been walking for a week. He's been walking for a week. That means he's doing it still, and it started a week ago. This is how we usually use this kind of grammar, this kind of tense, okay? Something that started before and continues now. So we'll look at some examples of how we do that, and then we'll talk about this next kind, which is a little bit more, it's a little bit more complicated. Okay, so this type, I have been playing football for 3 years. Okay, does that mean that I'm playing football at this moment? No, that means in my life, right? I started 3 years ago and I still play. Maybe I only play once a week or once a month, but the point is it's still going on now for me. Okay, I have been playing football for 3 years. It's continuing. Okay, let's try another one. We can also say I've means I have, right? I've been working overtime a lot recently. Now for this one, we don't say how much time has passed, and that's okay. The point is that it did begin before, at some point, maybe a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We don't know exactly, but it's still going on now. That's the important point. Okay, so something started before, continuing now. I have been working overtime a lot recently. Working overtime, by the way, means that you go over 40 hours in a work week, usually. So you're usually supposed to work 8 hours a day, maybe you work 10 hours every day. It's called overtime. It's called overtime. I've been working overtime a lot recently. So this one is kind of simple, right? Now the other way that we use this kind of tense is to talk about something that's about the past. It's true about the past, but we're saying that it's true now about the past. Now that might be a little bit confusing, right? But if I give you a couple of examples, I think you get the idea a little bit better. So this one we usually don't say have been blah blah blah. We just say I have done that. We just use the have and then past participle. For example, I have visited Canada 3 times. Totally in my life. Now, why wouldn't I just say I went to Canada 3 times? What's the difference between I have been to Canada 3 times and I went to Canada 3 times? When we're talking about how many times we've done something totally, right, or within a certain time period, we could say I have been to Canada, I have visited Canada, totally, right, or within 1 year or whatever, 3 times. And we don't care about when each time happened. So then we use this one. That's how we use it. It's true now about the past. If I want to say when I went, then I'll use the simple past. I've been to Canada 3 times. I went last June and I went twice the year before. So we often use the simple past to talk about the specific times and or when it happened, and we use this one to just say totally this many times. Don't worry about the details. We're not going to focus on the details. We're just talking about right now at this point in my life, how many times has this thing happened? Or has it happened or not? Sometimes when we want to say did it happen or not, we use the same way. We can say, for example, I have seen you before. Okay, seen is the past participle of see. I have seen you before. It's true. I've seen you before. You don't need to say I saw you before, because then we might focus on the details. I saw you before last Tuesday. I saw you last week. The details, right? But if we say I have seen you before, we don't care about when it happened. It's just true, right? So we use this one often when we're talking about just the reality, the truth, right? If we wanted to say the opposite, I have never seen you before is also correct. We can add the word never here. I've never seen you before. Okay? It is not true that I have seen you. But sometimes it really is exactly the same as the simple past tense, and you can choose either one. It doesn't really matter. You can say, I already ate. It happened. You're done. Okay? I have already, what should I put here? What's the past participle for ate? Eaten. I have already eaten. I already ate. Is it different? Not really. So sometimes they're kind of the same and you can choose either one. But in many cases, many times, they're not the same. And you need to be careful. If you want to talk about details, maybe use simple past. If you want to talk about totally how many times, or totally did it happen or not, is it true, then maybe use the present perfect tense.